Welcome to Beyond Dashboards. My name is Anthony Honecker, and I am the Vice President of Product Strategy and Development at Cohesive Solutions. Today's presentation is about using measures and KPIs to improve your Maximo implementation and achieve business results. Dashboards are the answer. They look great, they're easy to understand, consolidate lots of data into simple and powerful visualizations, and can be used to quickly understand the status of things in order to make better decisions. There is nothing that can't be visualized in a dashboard. But wait, what was the question? All too often, it's second nature to jump to a technology solution or approach without fully understanding what the questions or business requirements are. We have seen many business intelligence implementations undertaken for business intelligence sake. In this presentation, we're going to focus on the before and after of implementing dashboards or other business intelligence visualization technologies and tools. But first, let's agree upon a common definition of a dashboard. Dashboards provide at-a-glance views of data relevant to a particular business objective or process. There are three types of data that are usually provided: non-measures or raw data, such as lists of work orders or purchase orders, for example; measures or metrics, which are aggregated calculations, usually involving counts, sums, averages, etc. And finally, KPIs or key performance indicators. These are measures, but with management context, such as targets and a time frame for achievement. There are also different types of dashboards. The most commonly discussed are strategic dashboards. These target decision makers that monitor the status of the business and make business decisions based on this information. These typically will show static, or real enough time, high-level measures, typically just KPIs, that is. There are also analytical dashboards for analysts that need to dig and understand the hows and the whys of the data. These are usually interactive and provide more context and granular information than a strategic dashboard, but still don't need to be more than real enough time. You will see a range of KPIs, measures, and non-measures on these dashboards. Next is operational dashboards for users that monitor operations and potentially respond in real time. These are process-oriented and pretty granular, but what's key is that they are real-time, always up to date. Non-measures play a key role here, but can be supported by measures and potentially even KPIs. In the context of Maximo, you would likely categorize Maximo Start Centers as operational dashboards. And lastly are informational dashboards targeting non-users or viewers, such as customers or constituents, and could have any manner of typically static data, albeit usually high level and highly targeted at the specific viewers. For the purposes of this presentation, we are going to focus on dashboards that center around measures and KPIs and how those can be used to improve your implementation of Maximo and improve your process performance. But let's not put the cart before the horse. Again, it's easy to jump right in and start building reports, implementing business intelligence in order to get KPIs, or even launch into an analytics discussion and possible implementation. But that's the cart in this analogy. The horse comes first. Here we are talking about the whys, the questions that need to be answered, which starts with our strategy, both high-level business strategy as well as process strategies. Why do we even have Maximo? An objective-driven approach to defining our measures, as well as understanding the core data quality and data confidence requirements of our data, is crucial to the success of implementing any of the BI tools or technologies. We think there is a more appropriate sequence to things. First, the horse. Ask the questions first. What are we trying to achieve? Define and identify objectives based upon our strategy. Then, how to answer. What measures would indicate achievement of our objectives? Next, will we believe those answers? Does our data quality and confidence indicate trustworthiness? And finally, we can set our baselines. How do we measure now? And our targets and expectations. Where do we want to be and expect to be down the road? Then we can focus on the cart and leveraging tools and technology to visualize via reports and charts and dashboards, etc. But we're not done yet. After we hook the horse to the cart, it's time to go somewhere. How do we leverage these measures and KPIs to achieve outcomes? By responding to the results and communicating and collaborating around those results. And then how do we sustain improvement? By correlating initiatives and their results and the continuous care and feeding of our objectives, measures, targets, etc. Let's take a closer look at each of these steps in this more appropriate sequence. Becoming objective-driven is necessary to define the questions up front. Typically, organizations will organize their goals or objectives in some hierarchical structure unique to each business. Starting with these goals, we can drive our process and data requirements, rather than the other way around, which is more of a tail-wagging-the-dog, data-driven approach. Understanding relationships is key. How are higher-level objectives supported by lower-level objectives? From this point forward, it is critical to visualize and communicate performance via KPIs, activities, and planned and active initiatives in an objective context. Without this context, it's entirely appropriate when looking at data or measures or a dashboard to say, who cares? Objectives give us priority and focus. Speaking of understanding relationships, let's take a quick look at leading and lagging indicators. There's much talk and discussion, or even desire, to have leading indicators rather than lagging indicators. And there's much misconception about what a leading indicator is. Leading indicators are not a forecast or a calculation of some future state, but rather leading indicators show a causal relationship to a lagging indicator. Lagging indicators are output-oriented and measure results. They are typically easy to measure, but hard to influence. Leading indicators are input-oriented and measure a process. They are typically harder to measure, but easier to influence. In this example, we see that inventory accuracy is a leading indicator, measuring our inventory controls process. Since inventory balances drive the replenishment process, lower accuracy leads potentially to a lower availability of parts, or a higher chance that a part is unavailable due to not having been reordered in time. Availability of parts is the lagging indicator in that relationship, but it is a leading indicator relative to downtime. A lower availability of parts leads, potentially, to increased downtime due to delayed repairs while waiting for material. In this chain of leading and lagging indicators, inventory accuracy is the easiest to influence, while downtime is the hardest. Understanding the relationship between measures or indicators is a key part of making sure that the right questions are being answered, and providing those right measures to the appropriate users at the right time is the key to improving results. When providing the answers to the right questions, there are some pretty common mistakes that should be avoided. It is imperative that measures be useful and relevant. If the question doesn't matter to me, then the answer has little value. Therefore, measures and KPIs do not apply equally across users and roles. Additionally, we should avoid easy measures where we have ready data. Remember that we should be objective-driven, not data-driven. Obvious, who really cares about counts of records? Does the number of open work orders in the backlog really give us a sense of the size of the backlog? And last, popular measures. We've always measured the backlog that way, and it's what comes in the out-of-the-box Maximo reports. These are not likely to be specific, however, enough to you or your process to have any meaningful value. Rather, we should define our measures based on our objectives, and we need to validate the alignment between the objective, the relevant process or processes, and the resulting data. Misaligned measures are almost as bad as having no measure at all. Consider this example of misalignment, which is all too common. A typical objective for a materials warehouse or storeroom is to have item availability to support asset operations. In other words, when a part is needed to keep assets running, that part is available. But most organizations do not have a process for recording a stockout event, that case when the part is needed but not there. Maximo, out of the box, does not provide the means to capture this event. If the data is not available, we cannot measure. In this instance, the process needs to be aligned to the objective and the measure to provide for a means to report stockouts. If we stick with the out-of-the-box processes and data available in Maximo, we have to change the definition of item availability to look at frequency of material use and order frequency along with lead times, etc. This is not only complicated, but it convolutes what is being measured and communicated, potentially leading to unintended consequences as a result of being data-driven. Once we have the answers, will we believe them? Do we have trust in our data and processes? Trustworthiness refers to a system's accountability and its ability to produce reliable information and records. It denotes integrity, ability, faith, and confidence. There are two specific supporting measures that we can quantify. First is data quality, or the condition of a set of data. There are many definitions, but data is generally considered high quality if it is fit for its intended use. When we are talking about measures or KPIs specifically, we're talking about the ability of the data to be used as a basis for their calculation. And second is data confidence. The trust an organization can place in its data based on characteristics such as process integrity, completeness, currency, and governance. Let's look at an example of defining trust. Let's say we have a measure for the number or percentage of critical work orders completed on time. Part of the initial alignment and definition of the measure is to ensure that it is correctly defined. In this case, we make sure we correctly specify what constitutes a critical work order. Next is quality. What is the ability of the data to calculate the measure? Without the minimum required attributes of scheduled and actual finish dates, we would not be able to do the math without error. And last is confidence. We may have those two minimum required attributes to do the math, but other characteristics of the data indicate whether we should trust the result. If completed work is missing actual labor hours, then how did the work actually get completed? This would be an example of an anomaly in the data that casts doubt over the integrity of the data. Both data quality and data confidence are discrete measures themselves that can be visualized along with the core performance metrics as a certificate of trust of sorts that indicates that the business measures can be trusted. KPIs, as mentioned before, are measures that have a management context. Part of that context is expectations. Expectations are based on 1, where have we been and where are we now? And 2, where do we want to be and what is reasonable? It's easy to say that we should be at 95% compliance on some measure, but that's not so easy to say if the last 24 months we've only been at 50%. Targets should be attainable and time-based, perhaps with stepwise rather than all-at-once improvement. And targets for lower-level objectives should, of course, support higher-level targets. These baselines and expectations should be defined not just for our business measures, but the supporting data quality and confidence measures as well. We have now looked at the prerequisites for properly visualizing our measures and KPIs. We've become objective-driven. We've defined aligned and relevant measures. We've quantified the trust we can have in our measures. And we've set attainable targets based on our current baseline of performance. Now we can start looking at the technical aspect of configuring visualization via reporting, designing charts and graphs, constructing scorecards, and bringing it all together with dashboards. Remember, though, the focus of this presentation is on the before and after of configuring the visualization. While there are a great many ways to design a dashboard or information visualization, there are also many wrong ways to do so. There's a wealth of information available on the internet from a variety of sources, and I recommend that you take some time to explore good design tips and techniques. But visualization and dashboard design are beyond the scope of this presentation. So let's jump ahead and say we've done that. We've got our dashboards with our measures and KPIs all delivered. Mission accomplished, right? Well, no. Things do not just happen, they must be made to happen. Remember when we said that once we have the cart and the horse together, we still have to take the trip? So how do we take these results and achieve outcomes? First, we have to respond. KPIs aren't just for looks, they should be action generating. What happens if a KPI goes from green to yellow or yellow to red? Why wait until that happens to figure out a response plan of who will do what by when? Isn't this what getting the information is all about? Second, follow through. Did the who do what by when? And if not, why? And lastly, communicate and collaborate, again in an objective context. Ensure that all parties have access to the same results. This is a team, not an individual sport. We are measuring processes and performance, not individuals. Push, don't pull. Rely on technology to drive information to people rather than relying on their best intentions to remember, to not forget, to look at a dashboard. and foster and capture communication. Leverage technology to ensure this happens rather than relying on chance discussions or planning an endless series of meetings. Get out of email, which does not have an objective context-based structure. Improve accountability and responsiveness by increasing awareness through transparency. Individual silos of information are not conducive to organization-wide improvement. And keep a record of activities, which is valuable for retrospectives, continuous improvement, and identifying best practices. And finally, sustainment. In order to sustain improvements, it is necessary to correlate performance gains with the activities or initiatives that generated those gains. Future initiatives should have appropriate measures, baselines, and expected results identified beforehand. Initiatives underway should be quantifiably monitored to improve the likelihood of provable success. If we look at historical initiatives, can we measure results and returns? Are there lessons learned? And don't forget about the ongoing sustainment required. Objectives and KPIs have a shelf life and must be updated periodically. Have objectives changed? Are measures still aligned? Are the current targets still appropriate? Can we still trust our processes and data? Are our planned responses up to date? Through all this effort, it would be a shame to rely on human memory for this follow-through. Set up automated actions, PMs if you will, for review. So we've put it all together. We have our horse first, with the questions defined up front, along with a framework for defining the answers, quantifying and setting targets. Then the cart, where we put together our dashboards. But then we go beyond dashboards and use the results to achieve outcomes and sustain long-term continuous improvement. And now a few words about Propel, our performance management solutions and services from Cohesive Solutions. Propel is a performance management solution from Cohesive Solutions that enables you to implement an objective-driven approach to measure and monitor your key business processes in order to effectively meet your business objectives. It is a business-focused application and set of services with low IT overhead. It is available in the cloud in order to minimize IT costs, but can be deployed on premises for organizations that require it. It deploys in days, giving immediate value, allowing you to focus on the key aspects discussed in this presentation. It connects to IBM Maximo to extract process data, but is not based on Maximo. It can also incorporate data from other relevant business systems. Propel offers a set of integrated capabilities that allows you to focus on becoming objective-driven. It assists in aligning business processes and data with those objectives, and enables a rapid implementation of our preconfigured set of measures and KPIs. Propel provides a framework for quantifying data quality and data confidence, as well as for associating initiatives with measures in order to visualize results and returns. Propel provides a structure for planning business responses and automates the monitoring of business results and KPIs with the ability to push notifications to relevant stakeholders. And finally, Propel provides a collaboration forum that allows you, your organization, to focus on and collaborate with an objective context. If you'd like to learn more about Propel, performance management, or how Cohesive Solutions can help you move beyond dashboards and improve your implementation of Maximo, please feel free to contact us at cohesivesolutions.com. Thank you very much.